Well, welcome everyone. This is Jill Hope, and you are listening to Intuitive Money Messages. The message for today is something that I think a lot of prosperity teachers don't really like to talk about. And I've even talked about it with private clients too, and they really don't like this subject. And I have to admit that I have actually resisted it a lot myself in my own life. But what they say, what you resist persists. So I think it needs to be discussed. So, what is this elusive topic? Well, it's based on a universal law, and the universal law is the law of sacrifice. And I know sacrifice is a word that we've got our own ideas and meanings that we put on sacrifice, but for a lot of us, sacrifice feels like something we don't want. Why would we want to sacrifice anything? That doesn't sound abundant. That doesn't sound fun. Why would I want to do that, right? However, it is a law in the universe that in order to get something of a higher nature, you do need to let go of something of a lower nature. And if we think about this in our lives, you see the truth of this principle. You think about someone who wants to run a marathon. And if that person never got up off their couch and did the training necessary to run the marathon, they're not going to be able to get up and run the marathon. No amount of positive thinking is going to be able to help them or help their body to be able to complete that task. So what that person would have to do is sacrifice at least some of laying around on the couch and get out there and do the training necessary if they want to have the prize, which is completing the marathon. Every time you go to the market, if you want to buy a bag of apples, say, you have to give up something. You have to give up some money in order to receive those apples. So there's always something that we have to let go of. And I think that might be maybe an easier way to say sacrifice is just you've got to let go of something in order to take something on that you desire. Think about that thing that you want. So everyone's got something that you want right now. And it's probably something that you may know that you can get it, but it might feel a little elusive. Okay. Or maybe you've been working at it for a while and it hasn't happened for you yet. So imagine that thing and imagine that you are looking at a shelf and you see that thing and it's sitting up there on the shelf. There it is. I mean, you can visualize it. If you think about it, you can feel that thing on the shelf. You know what it would feel like to have that thing, to have that desire. And we talked a lot about that in previous calls. Well, that thing on the shelf there are other things up there on that shelf, okay? And you want to be up there on that shelf with that thing and everything else that is at the same I guess frequency, vibration, if you will, of that thing on that shelf. If you are on a lower shelf, you have to start to get up there. You've got to start being one of those items. You have to be on the same level as the shelf. That means you have to let go of the shelf that you're on in order to step up to this next level, right? So thinking about the train analogy, you're on a track and your track is taking you somewhere. It's taking you where your life is right now. You've been on that train for a while. You're going forward. It's not like you're not moving forward. You're moving forward and there are stations along the way in this train. And, there might be the station of your current job. And then there's the station of maybe when you feel like you make a mistake, the beat yourself up station. And then you've got the station of the doubt station that you stop at every once in a while on your way. And you keep stopping in these stations because those are the stations that are on the path that have gotten you where you are right now. If you want to switch to getting somewhere else, you've got this goal, you've got this desire, you want that thing. Just like the shelf analogy, you need to move over onto another track. And on another track, there are different stations that you will be stopping at. So to get from the track you're on to the track with the thing that you want, you're not going to be stopping at these stations anymore. You're not going to be stopping along the doubt station or the, and I'm going to beat myself up because I screwed up station. You're going to need to let those go. Okay. You're going to want to sacrifice those stops and those stations to get to where you want to be with the new stations. Okay. So I was thinking about this, and I've heard this message over and over about letting go of something of a lower nature to have something of a higher nature. And so I thought about, okay, what would that look like in my life? And I shared a little bit of this story in the message that I sent out, I think yesterday, to our broader community, I Shine. But for years, I've had a goal and a vision, and it changes as I move forward and as I evolve and as my consciousness grows. It gets bigger, and more things get added to it, right? But it's always, a similar thing, and I always feel like I'm reaching for it, right? And for the longest time, I would get this message, and I would feel it in my heart and soul to sit down and be quiet and just listen in, connect in, just be with my own thoughts. Let myself hear my soul talking to me. And this was really hard for me because I am a type A. I'm in my masculine energy a lot because I do things and I take action and I grab onto things and I'm like, tell me how to do it and I'll implement it. And I've taken all the trainings and when I started my business, I wanted to know, how can I set up a business on the internet? Well, you need to do this 7-step program and, that 5-step thing and this thing. And I do it all. I was a person who signed up for programs and I did the whole program. I didn't just sign up and then not do it. I would do every program. I would listen to every training. I would show up for all the coaching calls. I did the work and I would implement, but try to get me to sit down and just tune in was like, I didn't want to do it because it didn't seem to me like that could possibly get me resolved. It felt lazy. It felt like, well, gosh, if my husband sees me sitting around on the couch all the time, he's going to be wondering like why I'm not working. It felt like that couldn't possibly get me where I want to go. So I wasn't willing to give up the busy work, all the stuff, all the, sending the emails and writing the this and the that and the reaching out to this person and that person and going out and speaking and da 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 da. I wasn't willing to give up some of that. There's nothing wrong with the things I was doing, but even maybe not starting my day by immediately going to my email and maybe starting it in a different way. I wasn't willing to do that. And I noticed that over the years, I wasn't really changing my income very much. Like I was doing all these new things and sure, I would get an uptick here and an uptick there and a new client here and a new client there, but it wasn't dramatically shifting my into my vision that I saw for myself. And so finally, I had to look at it. And I had to look at this idea of sacrifice and of letting go of things of a lower nature for something of a higher nature. And I thought, I have always felt this little like, Jill, hello, like, stop, sit down, listen. And I finally thought, well, let me see what happens if I do that. And it was like plugging into a socket. Because when I plugged in, when I stopped, it was like, whoa, I got downloads immediately. I didn't have to try. I didn't have to be in my masculine energy of doing and going after it. It arrived. I started to receive. I really started to receive in a very tangible way. And it felt inspired and it felt like things started to click in and it started to feel like, oh, I'm getting responses based on what I'm doing that's coming from inside of me. So I share this not because this is your answer. Like, okay, now, I need to go plug in because that's what Jill did. That's not what I'm saying. But there are probably habits that you have in your life that you just do automatically. You don't even think about it. It seems like the right thing to do, that you are doing day in and day out, right? And you also are probably getting little nudges to do something else, to do, to maybe try this today, maybe try that you may not be listening to. And it might be as simple as, like me, it was, would you just sit down for a minute? And would you just listen to what we're trying to tell you? So I made a decision I'm going to let go of one thing, one habit that I'm doing, and I'm going to start one new habit. And it's going to be based on what I'm feeling, so I had to tune in to get the thing I need to let go of and the thing I want to step into. And I made a commitment to myself and a firm decision that I will do this every day. And so I'm going to invite you to tune in, to ask yourself what you need to let go of, one thing that you can stop doing in your life, and ask yourself what's one thing that you can start doing. Okay. And if you follow that and you keep your vision, that thing you want, whether it's a certain amount of money for something, whether it is, getting that first book written, whether it is making that big move, whether that is attracting in that partner that you desire, whatever it is, getting that dream job, whatever it is, if you keep that in your heart and in your vision, and you ask yourself, what would I need to let go of? What is a station that is not going to get me to the destination I want to go, that I could stop visiting? And what is a station that if I start getting on the track to stopping there, it would get me where I'm going? Okay. And then if you start doing that, you start moving your, the types of opportunities that show up, the types of connections that you might make. It starts to shift. You will see how things start to shift and line up on this new track. So let's do this together right now. So I invite you to get comfortable in your seat and just, settle in so that you don't have to move much for just a few minutes. Make sure that you've got something to write with in front of you, a notebook or journal. And let's go ahead and close our eyes if you're comfortable. Take a big deep breath in. A few more deep breaths. Just breathing deeply in. Allowing yourself to relax and to go deeper within. Letting go of any stress, any tension, any worry, any anxiety. Just let it go. You might even imagine that you've got a beautiful basket sitting right next to you. And any tension or limited thinking or negative thoughts, just go ahead and remove them and drop them into that basket for safekeeping. You won't need them on this journey that we're taking together. Just let them go, set them in the basket, and just breathe naturally. Sinking down into your seat. And imagine now that a beautiful golden light comes down and completely surrounds you. The beautiful light of love, it's peace, it's pure abundance, pure potential. It's completely surrounding you. You are completely safe, completely protected in this cocoon of loving light. Now imagine that you are walking through a beautiful valley. The grass is green and it's lush and it's soft and it feels cool underneath your feet. It's a beautiful sunny day. Blue, the bluest blue skies you've ever seen. A few light fluffy clouds and warm sunshine, and it feels warm on your face and warm on your shoulders. And all around you are beautiful mountains, trees, lush. There's a beautiful lush forest to your right. And you notice as you look at this forest, it feels very inviting. And so you walk towards the forest, and the closer you get, you notice a beautiful bench. And it looks so inviting, and you decide that you are going to take a seat on the bench. There's beautiful flowers surrounding this little space where the bench is, and you step in and you sit down. And you just keep breathing, and you feel so at peace here. So at peace. And as you sit here, you start to think about that beautiful desire that you have. You bring it into your mind's eye. You see yourself experiencing the desire. You put yourself in the picture of having the desire, holding the desire, knowing that that desire is yours right now. You feel the feelings that you will have when that desire is in your life, is in your reality now. Breathe into that space of having that desire fulfilled. And as you breathe with that desire, and you feel yourself become one with that desire, ask yourself, as this woman who is one with this desire now, who lives this desire every day in her life, who experiences these glorious feelings that I have when I am in this desire, when this desire is in my life. As that woman living this desire now, what should I, what could I, what would be helpful for me to let go of? What would be helpful for me to do less of, to decrease, or to let go of in my life? What is no longer congruent with me and my desire? And whatever comes up, you can take a moment to write it down. You can open your eyes and jot it down, or you can just think it and come back and write it down when we're done. And then ask yourself, as this woman who is one with her desire, feels her desire, and is experiencing it now, as that woman, what could I be doing more of? What would be helpful for me to do more of in my life? What would be helpful for me to add in my life? What could I do on a daily basis that would be congruent with this desire? And whatever comes up, no matter how small it is or how great it is, go ahead and jot it down or just hold it in your mind and your heart for safekeeping. And then lastly, ask yourself, the woman who is experiencing this desire now, your future abundant self, ask her, is there anything else you want me to know at this time? Is there anything else you want me to know at this time? If anything comes up, just write it down. If not, just think it, hold it in your heart, hold it in your mind. And as we leave this space, feel free to thank your future self, thank your abundant self, thank that woman who is one with her desire for sharing with you today. You can thank her in any way that's appropriate. Give her a hug if you wish. You can just shake her hand. You can just give her a knowing, loving glance, a smile, whatever feels good. And you can see her walk off back into the forest. And as she leaves, and when you're ready, you can get up from the bench and step out of that beautiful space and walk back through the valley, back to this present time and space. As you come back, ask that your energy be returned to normal. Take a big deep breath in, blow it out. Big grateful breath for any insights that were shared with you. And you can go ahead and wiggle your fingers and toes, open your eyes, come back to this place of peace. If there's anything you want to jot down now, feel free to do that. Any insights that you got, any messages, anything that came to you at all, even if it was one word, or even if it was a feeling or a picture, maybe you got an image of something. Maybe you got a memory of something from the past. So anything that showed up for you, just write it down so you remember it. And I recommend that you journal on whatever came up if you want to get more insights from the messages, okay? So that's something that you can do to deepen the insights that you got. So that is what I'm going to invite you to put into play this week. is to look at those things. And, if you got 3 or 4 things that it was recommended that you should either decrease or stop altogether, I'm not necessarily saying do all of those things right away, but I would say to pick one that you can commit to. Give it a timeline so that because if we say I'm going to do this forever, then, it's harder to step into, but we can step into just about anything for 7 days, right? So let's all commit and decide. This is your choice. You don't have to, right? But if you would like to, I invite you to commit to one thing, just one thing that you can either cut down on dramatically or stop altogether. If you decide that you're going to cut down on it, then you decide what that looks like for you. I would put a clear parameter around it so that you know whether or not you're doing it. Okay. I will say, for the example I shared with myself, I did allow myself to look at things and read things and listen to certain things because, I too wanted to know what was happening, but I gave myself a time frame in the day that I could do that. And it was off limits at other times of the day when I had downtime. So I made the choice of when that would be and how much time in my day I would allow myself to check in and see what's happening today. So you want to put some parameters around it if it's a cutting down on. If it's something like, well, like Lindsay said, I just want to stop the judgment, then you'll really want to focus on becoming aware of when am I judging and noticing when it's happening. That's a harder one to just stop, because if it's a habit, well, with any habit, if it's a habit in our thinking more than in something that we're doing physically, like brushing our teeth or doing sit-ups every morning, it's a little more challenging, only because the thinking can kind of go more on autopilot without us really realizing it. So the first step to changing a thinking pattern like judgment is just noticing when you're doing it. So that might be where you start. It depends on how gung-ho you are, but that might be where you start, is that you say, okay, for the next 7 days, I am going to be ultra aware of when I'm making a judgment, and then I'm going to look at that and see what that's about for me, and not beat yourself up about it, but just to see, where is that coming from? Is there a fear in me? Is there, why do I feel that what's the judgment covering over? Why do I feel I need to do that? So that you can start to change that habit little by little. The other thing I would say, if you'd like, is to add one thing. So if you're taking away one thing, what is the one thing that you might want to add and start doing either more of, or if it's a brand new habit, just start doing something simple, something that you feel you can commit to doing for 7 days. And then I would invite you also to notice, how do you feel differently when you've made these 2 changes? How do you feel as you're going through your day? And what inspirations come from that? Since you're spending your time a little differently, whether it's thought time or doing time, you are opening up to new things coming in. And, we can't, everybody wants to have things, right? We want things that we don't currently have. That is human nature. It is the nature of life to expand and to grow and to always want more. And, for many of us as children, we were told, oh, you should be happy with what you have. And why do you always want more? And it's not okay to want more. But the thing is, that's going against our innate nature that we all have, which is to want more. We see that in nature. I mean, there's an abundance. Things just grow. They things don't shrink down. They go through their life cycle, and when they start to shrink is when they start to die. So we all want these things, but for the vast majority of us, we don't want to do anything differently to get them. And that's why most people don't change and don't have the things they want in their lives. So this is our opportunity, by using this law of sacrifice, This is our opportunity to make that change, to do something different so that we get a different result. I think it was it Albert Einstein who said, you can't do the same thing over and over and think you're going to get the same result. That's the definition of insanity. I mean, we do have to make a change. We have to do something different. Okay. So that's what I'm going to invite you to do this week. And then we'll check in with you next week and we'll see how you did with that. Okay. So make a declaration to yourself, make a commitment to yourself. It's not to me, it's to you and to your desires. Okay. All right. So we're going to take questions and do a quick little bit of coaching. But before we do, very quickly, see if I can do this. I'm trying to share my screen. Okay, there we go. I just want to share my new program. This is another way that you can do something different if you'd like. What I'm opening up is Activate Your Abundant Money Flow. And how it works is it's a 6-month program. It's a group program where we'll be coming together twice a month, every month for 6 months. And at the start of each month, the first week, you'll receive a training module. It's more like a workshop module. There's activities. It's active. So either you will be doing a visualization, like we just did that visualization today. It'll be either something like that, or it'll be doing some kind of a journaling exercise. It's active. It's getting you to think. It's getting you to look at your habits, to look at your patterns, to understand how you interact with money, how you interact with pretty much everything in your world, because how you do money is how you do everything. So you start to see, what are my patterns? How am I operating in my life? And then the other 2 weeks, so the first week you get the training module. The other 2 weeks we come together as a group and we coach around what comes up for you as you integrate what you learned in the module. This is where we can really be sure that you are integrating what you're learning and actually making new decisions. The ultimate outcome through the 6-month program is that you really grow in your consciousness around how you operate with money and the changes that you need to make to be where you want to be, to get where you want to get. And my goal is that after 6 months of doing this work together, and I'm your partner right alongside you, that you are seeing, if not the actual thing that you want showing up, that you are at a minimum seeing dramatic shifts, new opportunities, and great momentum towards what you want. It depends on what that thing is. Some things are bigger than others and take more incubation time. So it really depends on what your goal is. So I invite you to join that. If that speaks to you, I would love to support you in that program. It's $197 a month to play with me in that playground. And it starts December 3rd. And I have special pricing that's available until November 20th. So I think that's a week from Friday. And you get a bonus Sacred Money Archetypes reading with your purchase of that, where that's private, it's one-on-one, and you go through an exercise that gives me a lot of feedback, and we see what your top 3 archetypes are. And then in our reading together, it's really a conversation where I take that information that you filled out, and we kind of look at, what does it really mean? How do these archetypes, how are they showing up in your life? And how can you actually use that information to help you get the things that you want? It's hard to create a change in our life if we don't know where we're starting from. So it really kind of gives you a clear picture of, kind of jumpstarts you understanding how you operate, if you will. So that's available to you. I will put the link in the description box for this video, and I'll also share that when I share the replay, so you'll have that link. But I wanted to let you know that because we're going to get that class filled up, and I'm excited to start that group. So hope you'll want to be a part of it with me. Okay, let's go back and take some questions. I'm going to stop sharing. There we go. Okay. All right. So sacrificing things, letting things go, doing things differently. What's coming up for you this week as it relates to what you are working on? If it was easy, more people would do it. This is really the reason why more people don't live their best lives, because they lack the discipline to let go of those things of a lower nature in order to get the thing of a higher nature. They're not believing in the vision more than, the current experience. If we can shift our focus and make our desires and our visions more important than the life that we're living now, we can have it. But it does mean that we have to do some different things, and it can be painful. Even, signing up for our program, the Activate Your Abundant Money Flow. There is a pain associated. There's something giving up. There's $197 a month. That might feel like a pinch to someone. That might feel like a stretch, like a giving up. Oh, well, what do I have to give up to do that? It's so people, a lot of people will not make these choices, even if they know that that's going to, help me. It's going to move me along. It's going, if I get out there and run every day, I'll be able to eventually run a marathon. That has to be more important than our fear of letting go of what our comfort zone is currently. So use a different word. You don't have to use the word sacrifice when you're thinking about it, but it is letting go something of a lower nature in order to have that thing. And it might not be comfortable. It might not be comfortable as you are stepping into it. Once you've created the new habit, someone that works out all the time wouldn't think of missing a workout to lay on the couch. I remember when I was an avid working outer, and I would go to the gym every day, and I would never miss a day ever. And I was injured, and I was going out of my skin not working out. And I was like pacing around the house like a crazy woman, because I couldn't work out. I mean, I couldn't sit on the couch and watch TV. I needed to do something with my body. So once you establish that new habit that takes you where you want to go, then it becomes like something you wouldn't even think of not doing. But making the change and letting go of that thing and stepping into the new thing, it's not necessarily going to feel, like a cakewalk. That even though we do what we do, because we are getting something out of it. Even the negative habits that we take on that we maybe don't want in our lives, there is something we're getting out of it, and that's why we continue to do it. If we didn't, we would drop it like a hot potato. So there is some payoff. The first thing I would say is start to notice when and where you're doing it, and then you're going to want to look at, well, where's that coming from? Why did I choose to do that? What is that about? What's underneath that? And that's how we can start to slay those dragons and, feed us that thing we think we need in a different way, in something that is more positive and more life affirming than, taking life down, which is pretty much what judgment does. So you guys are amazing. I love the contributions that everyone makes to this, to these calls. It makes the calls so much more rich to have you guys sharing and bringing your unique perspectives to the topic, to the conversation. So thank you for that. Thank you everyone for that.